Hello, Morven.
Hi, Catherine. We met, didn't we? In person after quite a long time, online,
Absolutely.
and the highlight of that was dancing. I just
And
loved dancing with you,
absolutely.
in that time that we had, and we just went on and on, didn't it? We could have stayed up, and we were with a few other friends as well, weren't we?
Yeah, and that's with the fabulous people that also form Circle for Transformation, isn't it? And yeah,
Absolutely, it was all those people, and those vibes, and yeah, it was one of the most spontaneous evenings in
can I
my
quickly
memory.
introduce you to anyone who will be watching this video? My name's Coach
Um,
Catlin, and I'm joined by Morven Fyfe, who is the featured mentor
yeah,
this week on Circle for Transformation, and we're just having a little chat about you as a person, you as a coach and therapist, who you help, and um, yeah, how you use your magic and what your future vision is, how you want to help people. So welcome, Morven.
oh, thank you, thank you. It's lovely to have this opportunity, to take a shot at it and be available, for questions. And I've been really appreciative that Circle of Transformation, of which I'm a part, but it's a partnership, isn't it? And I'm very grateful that I've been given this 5 or 7 days to kind of talk about the work and have a look at what we're involved in and what we mean by the work.
Exactly. So do you want to give a little overview, when you started working, what brought you to psychotherapy, to coaching, and what modalities you trained in, maybe as a little starting.
Right, well, but that's a lot of questions in my mind. I mean, I sort of like started, I just think of myself as this young woman, really, who was in like 19 in art school, um, in this place called Banbury, of all places, to do a foundation year in art. And I loved it, but there was lots of people to meet and everything. But I knew that I was a very angry person inside. I felt like I had a couple of monsters in there. And turned out that a friend of mine had contacts in humanistic psychology. Her father was actually, she was doing the same study. She was doing the same course as me, this lovely art foundation course. And her father was a professor at Oxford University in psychology. So I guess she might have had a bit of DNA there. But she was very interested in personal growth. And I thought, oh, what's that? And then I started reading the kinds of things that you do like to read, like Khalil Gibran and many other prophets and Eastern mystical stuff, but also with humanistic psychology and authenticity being really important. So this was in the 80s, the early 80s. And I was intrigued because she would go to a community in Didcot at that time, and I would sort of tag along. I was actually terrified the whole time, but I was also fascinated, because these people were being so real, and they were working through their challenges of human relationship frustrations, tensions between people, but also they were very embodied and holistic with celebrating life and dance and all of that stuff too. So they were.
You experienced that, all of that, at age 19. Amazing.
I did, absolutely. So I kind of did everything backwards in a way, because I did that patch, and then I trained in America as a body worker. So I trained in body work in America, and that means doing psychotherapy, if you like, with the body. You know, like if you got very tight breathing, that changes how you think, it changes how you feel, and holistically, you're more likely to be anxious and depressed. Yeah. So we know that now, but
that's why breath work is exploding
so
right now, isn't it? Yeah.
it's exploding like crazy. And the thing is that they're going to be bringing in more, is what I was into then, which makes me sound like I've got the upper hand, but I'd never had the upper hand because nobody else was doing it. You felt like, ah. so it was like, you know, what's body work, you know, and it's like, oh God, not again. So it's like just try it, you know. It's like, well, I'll read about it, thank you. Yeah. So that's the kind of like the, you know, the stiff upper lip inherited British environment that you get, you know, that we all know and love. So but there are people who are warming to these things much more now, and body, you know, body psychotherapy is certainly coming back. Yeah.
So,
So those, sorry, go
with
on.
your clients at the moment, you obviously have so much background, and but I guess you have go-to tools and techniques you use in your everyday work with clients, right? Do you want to elaborate what's in your toolkit and how you use it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think one of the most important things that anybody can get, if they really want to do some work on themselves, and they feel like they need to work things out, and they feel a bit alienated from life or from certain relationships, certain people, and they're kind of over compromised in their place in life. It's something to know that was what I was experiencing as a young woman, right? And then I gave up the whole alternative scene, because that was the alternative scene in the 80s. And I went into living a normal life, the ordinary world, and I got, you know, married and became a mum, and no regrets about that. But I think I also had lessons to learn in the ordinary world. But the thing is that even later on in life, I was in my 40s when things came back, but they revisited me in a different way. And that was to do with really difficult family situations, you know, and these are to do with just toxic and dysfunctional families. People think, oh, it's or the group that you grew up with, because you don't have, some people don't have a family, but they have to grow up with a group around them, otherwise they wouldn't survive. So, but the whole thing around that feeling that comes back to revisit you, it's very, very relational. So I'll say that I wanted to make something clear, that people can jump into thinking that childhood sexual abuse is the only abuse. It's not. It's actually not even that is the core issue ever. It's the fact of the abandonment following the events. It's the truth telling and the consequential abandonment. And you might think, okay, well, that's understandable, the sexual abuse, isn't it? Yeah, as a kid or whatever form that took. And it's a very wide spectrum of activity, that activity. Sometimes it doesn't even involve touch, sexual abuse, okay?
Yeah.
So the thing about other forms of abuse are the ones that we know now: gaslighting, exploitation, financial exploitation, or getting your kids to work for you. You'd be surprised that's even happening now. So children can be in dysfunctional families in lots of really unbalanced and tortuous relational ways, where one sibling is favored and the others are rejected, that kind of thing. That can leave you with a bitter taste for the rest of your life, and you don't want it to be there. You want it to be gone. That's the thing, but it won't go. And that's why reaching out and connecting with those who've studied this and lived it
That's
is a
why
good
I,
way.
you know, trauma, we all initially, before we sort of start looking into this, we think trauma needs to be something really big and dramatic, but trauma is literally when we feel out of our depth and we cannot cope with a situation. And that can be a feeling, or it can be, to an outsider looking in, irrelevant, but for the person it can absolutely be that traumatic moment that sets off a limiting story that they then carry all through their life, isn't it? Yeah,
it does. It sets off a limiting story, and that limiting story is, of course, designed to keep you safe, so that those horrible, painful things won't happen again. And that's where I was saying in my little video earlier that it's Tony and Molly that I have to thank for my person-centered training that I did at 40, 42, 43, where I would have thought, oh, I've grown out of all of that. I don't need to have anything further with all of that stuff, but actually I really did feel pulled back into it because of my own pain as much as anything else, never mind wanting to become a professional. But no, the thing is the thing of listening was the thing that really taught me the best and the most valuable basis of all the work. Because as you were touching on trauma, it is about listening to that person and finding what that unique situation was that created that pain in that person.
So would you say you work mainly with people who are aware that they had something traumatic happening, or is it a mixture of people who are either aware that something traumatic happened and other people who almost unaware that what they've gone through was traumatic and is having an effect? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, as is often said, that there are layers, and sometimes, I mean, I'm the first to welcome anyone who wants to, just with any therapist, it's not just all about me. I mean, I'm all about people just knowing that therapy has changed a great deal over the last 10 years, and it's time to revisit it, because you can actually present in therapy as, I just don't want to feel so shit anymore. Good
enough reason, right?
No reason. No reason. And that's where listening comes in. Because that person hadn't been able to have the space, because friends and family, they have expectations and we have expectations of them, and they're not actually there in terms of carrying your cross with you for a while as fully as they need. It's like they need that to happen really fully so that you can really understand their burden. And of course, I mean, it's and so they need to just find someone where they can feel a resonance, where they can unravel that feeling of just feeling so heavy, just feeling so shit, just wishing their lives away, really.
Yeah. And I guess that's where creating a plan or a wish list, if you want, of what, if you come to someone like you, what is it, what I want to achieve. And in your post today, I think you listed what you set out as a goal. Can you talk us through what the sort of
Sure.
how you get to a wish list of, is it
Sure,
called a
sure,
therapy
sure.
plan or?
I kind of, I guess, those sorts of things can be a little bit intimidating to some people. So it's something that I might invite a client to think about. Are the goals of therapy? And sometimes the goals are pretty crude. So you think, oh, I want to, the typical coaching goal is something we know and love, which might be, I want to find a partner in the next 2 years or something, or I want to work out my relationship with my mother, who is, I find it painful to be with because I feel so guilty and I've got nothing to be guilty about, and I get completely confused. So that would be it's not an untypical presentation, because many of us are the products of bad parenting, but bad parenting isn't necessarily 100% a rotten apple. It's very often bad parenting is partially bad parenting and the rest has been really good. But it's just that in therapy and in this space, we look into that, and we look into how it felt for that person as a child, and whether they, if they felt stopped a lot, for example, or if the way that they were communicated to at home was very critical a lot of the time. For example, of course, that creates our inner radio, our put downs, our self put downs, our perception that we're really not very good, that we're not good enough. Yeah. So the goals begin to formulate out of the uncovering of these experiences. Yeah. So we look into that fusion where it's possible to be totally safe, talk from that place of pain, and we sit with it until we begin to understand what was going on around you in those formative years. And with knowing what it is that a child actually needs, then we have a very good way of seeing what was missing. So with the case study that you can see from yesterday, there are goals there to feel joy. What is the primary thing that a child needs to do? It is absolutely to be in good health and to feel joy, and to jump and to skip and to run and to play. And those inner children inside us, these are very primal and big and important foundations that are still energetically alive. So sometimes in therapy, I would use internal family systems to find those inner children and give them a voice so that they can come out of where they've been locked up and locked away, emotionally and communicatively speaking. And then they come into their element, and the person just sheds that burden of what actually was usually bad coping mechanisms from the adults around them when they were a child. Yeah.
Wow. As you're talking, I think it just dawned on me, a child should be jumping around feeling joy. And I think even when you said that, I think even the happiest child who had the happiest upbringing would have had moments where that would not have been possible, and they would have created a limiting belief of being, put second best over their mum's attention. And I mean,
Yeah.
I had a happy childhood on paper, but I still managed to create a limiting belief which
Sure.
went through all my life until I done the work. And I
Yeah.
think from my perspective, because nothing actually traumatic happened to me, my feelings of not feeling I fitted in, because I felt I didn't understand myself. So I came to the conclusion there must be something wrong with me. So we're our biggest enemy, aren't we? So I think
Absolutely,
trauma work
absolutely.
is for
And
everyone, really.
a trauma work is for everyone. Yay.
There's no stigma. We all need a bit of.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes those feelings can come because you just didn't have enough people to play with as a child. And it could be that people,
Only child.
oh yay, whoa, this is it. This, and it's so important, parents out there, look, watching you. Yeah, you've got to organize play dates for your children. They've got to play, they've got to adventure in relationship with other children, and maybe get to know other families and stuff like that, a bit, just so that they feel present within themselves and not kind of in response to what they want out there, what the adults want out there. So they need playmates their own age. And also as teenagers, I didn't have any teenage friends when I was growing up. And sometimes what I have noticed that I do sometimes is keep myself out of any group. I'll keep myself away from a group and like, oh God, I've done it again. It's like, nope, I've got to stop doing that. I've got to go and get involved in that group and stop that old pattern. Yeah, that kind of thing. And it's because as a teenager, I just was out of it. I was pretty depressed, and I kept myself separate. Yeah, and it's that kind of thing of like, well, so that would be a goal for any other person who didn't have a lot of play and adventure at whatever stage of their development. Yeah, and that would mean that they can put that in as a goal, that where can I go now and actually do something whereby I'm being a bit more adventurous? Where is the inner teenager in me, and can I have fun with that? Can I actually go and see a silly comedy movie with a couple of friends and dress up? Or can I, just do something and see if it feeds me?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
so that's a really important thing, in that in this work it's not about fixing it, it's about doing it, getting involved, not being isolated, and being as adventurous as feels right until those directions and goals are met, really.
I guess it's about nurturing what you were missing out on, and I guess for me it was a lot. Community is really important, maybe because I've always craved it, and I'm a bit aware of time, Morven.
Sure.
We have about 8 minutes left.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So because you were
Yeah.
talking about being in groups, and I know you obviously already helping a lot of people in one-to-one sessions, but I know you're looking forward to helping a lot more people, and doing group work is at the heart of that. Is that right? Your vision?
Absolutely. Group work is at the heart of this, because many of us go through a time as we're growing up where a group that we were in didn't feed us, didn't actually provide for us what we needed. So and we weren't really present in the group, we weren't there. So that could mean the family, it could mean school, It could mean any other group you like.
Yeah.
And what's okay is when you are in a functioning group where you have the feeling that people have your back. Okay. That you know that the person who's running that group is going to ensure that they have your back, and that the entire process is about actually experiencing what it's like to be yourself and to be safe, and to move into areas of relating that are a bit deeper than how you would relate with someone in most other social situations. So I'm running groups of up to 6 people, and what we would be doing is we'd be doing things like mask making using art materials. So we have different personas that are either inside or outside, and we have hidden personas, yeah, that don't get to come out very often. And we have management masks, I like to call them, whereby we know that that one works for most places that we go and things that we do and people that we know. And we also have protective masks, yeah. And it's like exploring these different parts of yourself in a group is safe when you're using art materials. You can talk about these different parts of yourself, and in a safely led group, you can begin to deal with things and reach levels of communication that you might not have been able to reach otherwise. So I'm running trauma-informed support groups. And so that means it's the goal of the group is to help people to begin to show up to other people and experience relationships with other people as themselves. So you can see what the role of the mask is. Some people may have fairly deep childhood wounds. Other people may not. But the thing about this work is sustaining the authentic you in the group, so that you can make friends with the authentic you and live from that place. Yeah.
Beautiful. And obviously the side effect of doing this in a group is no longer feeling alone and by yourself, and
Absolutely.
understanding that, you know, not just physically being alone, but not being alone as in, you know, I'm the only one going through this. This is, yeah.
That's it. Because one of the things that a lot of therapists, especially the most empathic therapists out there, of which there are many, I'm not the only one. With a lot of therapists, the only thing that always feels like there's a kind of hole in the whole deal, there's an empty space in the whole deal, and what it is that, oh, this person is alone in their work with me. They're opposite me, they're on their own, and they just don't realize that there are so many other people who would want to be supportive of them as well. So what would it be like to experience that support from real live human beings? That's like, oh, that's scary. But actually, this is about being present and going further and realizing what it really feels like when your heart feels warm, when you can be yourself and you can be with your truth. And you can watch the timelines of other people's lives. Yeah. You can witness their truth. They witness your truth as you go along. It's a confidential group.
Yeah.
So nothing is allowed to leave that room. However, what happens is a kind of deepening of connection.
Mm.
And then an exploration and a naming of each person's journey and their therapeutic needs, and their goals, their personal directions. So everyone will have their own personal direction, and that can all be held in one group, believe it or not. It's quite extraordinary.
And you are, you know, I'm actually sold on your program. I don't feel I need it, but you actually sold it to me, Morven, and I might sign up just for the experience. Got about a minute left. If anyone sits on the fence, reach out to Morven. All her details can be found. The link will be with the video, obviously. What do you want to say, Morven, before we close?
Oh, well, I'm just going to say, guys, that as ever, I welcome any messages, any explorations. Maybe we can just chat about your life journey, and we can chat about how it happens to feel, how things are showing up for you at the moment, and chat about what would it be like. Yeah, well, why not jump in and see what would be in the group. I'll be offering a 1-hour presentation on what the content of a group could be, and then I will be filtering various parts of the audience of that into the appropriate group for them. Yeah,
brilliant, Morven. I think before the video stops, I would like to thank you for your time, and let's do it again. Let's hop on another call. There's so much more to talk